This time, let's focus on child development theory, and let's start with Jean Piaget's theory of psychological development. So, just the background information: Jean Piaget was a Swiss psychologist who was interested in how child thinks and behaves, and from there he introduced a psychological development theory, which is best known as cognitive development theory. This is based on a constructivist idea that knowledge is formed by individual construction of the information. However, a child was taught, so it was inspired by the pragmatic philosophy of education. As you can remember, it is a non-authoritarian and divergent form of learning wherein a child learns on his own. So according to Piaget, learning is an active process and not a passive assimilation of information. And children are called as little scientists because they discover things on their own. However, they are taught by the people around them and maybe by their mentors, and by their teachers. It's still children are active participants in the learning process. So, according to him, there are three different types of learning, which are equilibration, assimilation, and accommodation. So, the first one, equilibration, is the assimilation and accommodation of information. In this kind of learning, we adjust our ideas to make sense of reality. So, according to him, there are two states of learning. Two states of life. Equilibrium and disequilibrium, and it is in this equilibrium that people begin to think, begin to know something, begin to question a lot of things, and that's the start of learning. Another way is assimilation, or the process of matching external reality to an existing cognitive structure, or the copying of ideas. And the other one is accommodation, that when there is an inconsistency between the learner's cognitive structure and the things being learned, the child will reorganize her thoughts. However, Piaget introduces equilibration of ideas, and according to him, there are different stages of learning. So, it follows, as I've said, constructivism. He's not interested actually in applying his theory to school-based education, and he called this American question. It was about American education. So constructivist educators create an environment which encourages children to construct their own knowledge. So again, according to Piaget, we construct our learning regardless of how it is presented. So, these are Piaget's stages of cognitive development. According to him, a child's capacity to understand certain concepts is based on the child's development stage, and there are 4 stages. So, he thought the age may vary for some time, but that will all go through the stages at the same order. So, the first one is the sensorimotor, which is from birth up to 2 years. The second one is the preoperational stage, which is from 2 years to 7 years. The concrete operational, which is from 7 years old to 11 years. And the formal operations, which is 12 to 15 years. Now, in the sensorimotor stage, this is from birth to about 2 years. According to him, rapid change is seen throughout this stage, and the child will, first explore the world through senses and motor activities. Early on, a baby can tell the difference between themselves and the environment. If they can see something, then it doesn't exist, and they begin to understand cause and effect, and can later follow something with their eyes. So the next one is the pre-operational stage, which is about 2 to 7 years old. In this stage, a child has better speech communication, can imagine the future and reflect on the past. They can develop basic numerical abilities. And of course, they are still pretty egocentric, meaning they still focus on self satisfaction, but learning to be able to delay gratification. They can't understand conservation of matter, and they have difficulty distinguishing fantasy from reality. For example, cartoon characters for them are real people. In the next stage, okay, anyway, let's continue the pre-operational. Uh, okay, let's have a quick review of conservation of matter, which this the kids in the pre-operational stage don't know yet. Conservation of matter is the understanding that something doesn't change even though it looks different, and shape is not related to quantity. Okay, so example of conservation of matter are 10 coins set in a long line, more than 10 coins in a pile, and a child cannot understand this concept. Is there less water if it is poured into a bigger container? Okay, and these are the things that are not yet understood by children in the pre-operational stage. The next one, okay, the next one is the concrete operational stage from about 7 to 11 years old. From here, a child's abstract reasoning ability and ability to generalize from the concrete increases, and they also understand conservation of matter in concrete operational stage. Okay, and again, in the last part, the formal operational stage, it's already from 12 to 15 years old. This children can think about hypothetical situations. They can form hypotheses. They can organize information, and they can reason scientifically. So these are different, or the 4 stages of development. According to him, development happens from one stage to another through interaction with the environment. So environment is an important factor in child development. And changes from stage to stage may occur abruptly, and kids will differ in how long they are in each stage. And cognitive development can only happen after genetically controlled biological growth occurs. So, development leads to learning. The drive for development is internal. The child can only learn certain things when she is at the right development stage. Okay, environmental factors can influence but not direct development, and development will happen naturally through regular interaction with social environments. So these are the factors that contribute to the learning process. Okay, so in education, Piaget did not think it was possible to hurry along or skip stages through education. It's good if the child experiences each stage. Regardless, many American schools will try to teach the stages in an attempt to accelerate development. Now, the problem with Piaget's theory. According to the critics, children often grasp ideas earlier than what Piaget found, and then cognitive development across the domain is inconsistent. So some are better at reading than math, some are doing otherwise. Another one, studies have shown that development can to some degree be accelerated. Alright, so this is about cognitive development theory, and the proponent is Jean Piaget, Constructivism. Okay, so this is all for this time, and their theory coming up.